Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Gallardo and I'm going to perform range of motion exercises. So first, I need to wash my hands, sanitize my hands, and wear my gloves on. And now I'm going to approach my patient. Hi ma'am, my name is Michelle Gallardo and I am your caregiver for today. I'm going to help you to perform range of motion exercises. We're going to perform passive and active range of motion exercises. So we will start to the neck range of motion exercises or neck flexibility exercises. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. So now, can you do it by yourself? Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. You're doing good. For the lateral rotation, left lateral rotation, right lateral rotation. Left lateral rotation, right lateral rotation. Can you please do it by yourself? Left lateral rotation, right lateral rotation. Good job. For the side rotation of your neck, side flexion, extension. Side flexion, extension. Can you do it by yourself? Side flexion, extension. Side flexion, extension. Good job. Can you please stand up? We're going to do another range of motion exercises on your lower extremity. Next is our shoulder. So, protraction, retraction. Protraction, retraction. So, protraction, retraction. Protraction, retraction. Protraction, retraction. Can you do it by yourself? Protraction, retraction. Protraction, retraction. Good job. For the circumduction of the shoulder and arm, flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Can you do it by yourself? Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. For the circumduction of the elbow, flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Can you do it by yourself? Flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Good job. For the circumduction of the wrist, flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Can you do it by yourself? Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Good job. For the circumduction of the finger, abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction. Can you do it by yourself? Abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction. Next is opposition of the finger, opposition of the finger, opposition of the finger, opposition of the finger. Can you do it by yourself? Opposition of the finger, opposition of the finger. Next is pronation and supination. Pronate, supinate. Pronate, supinate. Can you do it by yourself? Supinate, pronate. Supinate, pronate. Supinate. Good job. So next is your lower extremity, your hip. Flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Can you do it by yourself? Flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Good job. Next is circumduction of the feet. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Can you do it by yourself? Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Right? Good job, ma'am. We're done performing range of motion exercises. You may take your seat. So I'm done helping my patient performing range of motion exercises. So I'm going to discard my gloves, wash my hands, sanitize my hands, documented the data. I'm done.